Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Conn. I'm delighted.
And you've got a wee spring in your step.
This is my favourite part of the day. I'm
Is
delighted
it?
to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Not bad. I suggest to you that you probably need to have a wee look at how things are right now if this is your favourite part of the day, Dan.
Listen. The viewers are saying the same thing right now, Keith.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but we'll see.
Listen,
How's
see,
things?
before we start, good. Before we start, talking about the people that are sitting watching this, I've got a massive thank you. Obviously, Daniel, we tried something a little bit different. Last week we did an interview and we couldn't for various reasons put it out live. But we did an interview with Paul Murray, a kind of hotline special, if you like. Went out to air on Friday lunchtime, and I just want to thank everybody for getting involved, for watching it, and the response has been terrific. So I'm very pleased with that, and it doesn't work without the guys, our little community here that are watching what we put out. So we're delighted. It seems to have been well received, and it's still there if anybody hasn't seen it.
Yeah, we were saying off air that we were a wee bit concerned because we always do these shows live, and that's where we get a lot of you guys watching, sending comments and stuff, and we were a bit concerned that we wouldn't have that. But no, listen, the support that everyone watching gives us is massively appreciated, and
they never let us down, Dan.
Absolutely. And Rangers Easy OK is actually just written in saying, really good interview from you both. Paul's a good man, and the future looks bright for us.
Thank you, Rangers Easy OK.
Yeah, thank you very much. And as Keith says, it's still there if anyone wants to check it out on our YouTube channel. Shall we move on to today's stuff, Keith?
Let's get into the main event, Dan.
There's been the draw for the last 16 of the
and
Premiership.
It's a good draw, isn't it?
It is a good draw. It's an interesting draw. You can see it in your screen there. Celtic Falkirk is one that catches the eye right away.
Well, especially given how Falkirk performed this time last season going to Celtic Park. That was a really good game of football, and I think Celtic fans would agree that was one of the best away performances they saw from any Scottish team at Celtic Park last season. Falkirk were really good, really impressive, and it actually kind of that performance alone. And I've watched Falkirk a couple of games now. The style of football is great. And I think they're going to be a real welcome addition to the Premier League this season. Difficult for them, obviously. I think they'd have preferred to get Celtic on their own patch. So to go to Celtic Park is as big of an ask as it gets in Scottish football. So that's unfortunate for Falkirk. But you know what? The performance that they put on there last year, they don't look as if they're going to scare easy, this Falkirk side under John McGlynn. So I mean, that's a good tie from a Celtic perspective because it's a home tie. They'll expect to go through it, obviously. But I think they'll also get a right good game of football. And you just never know if Falkirk catch them. Obviously, Celtic were playing, you wouldn't say a full strength side, I don't think, this time last year. And it could be similar this time around. So, but that sounds to me like an interesting one right off the bat.
Hugh in the comments says, another fortuitous draw for Rangers. A home draw versus the lowest ranked side. Incredible. Or is it? Rangers have obviously been drawn against Alloa. Kilmarnock, Dundee United.
She's sitting there with the old tinfoil hat on.
Listen, who doesn't like a good conspiracy? But Celtic, would you say Celtic Falkirk is St Mirren Hearts as well, actually?
No, I don't. I actually think there are ties all over this that are kind of whetting the appetite. I think Kilmarnock and Dundee United will be a fascinating matchup. I think Livingston, Hibs having to go to Livingston, that's not going to be an easy game for Hibs, even though I've been full of praise for Hibs. And by the way, Daniel, I did tip them to get a 1-1 draw away to Midtjylland last week.
Listen, I think it was me that tipped 1-1. I'm sure you said 1-0 Rocky Bashiri header.
No, that was you. So there you go. Bring those fixtures back up for me, Dan.
Oh, hold on.
Look, there you go again. So Hibs away to Livingston. Then you've got St Johnstone, Motherwell. St Johnstone, obviously, having just dropped down. Now they've got the sort of, it's the off the ball derby, isn't it? Really, that I think looks like an interesting game. Aberdeen having to go to Morton, that could be tricky for them.
Yep.
And Thistlenear United, I know it's an old championship, but I quite like that as well. And these two teams are really progressive, ambitious, and one of them is going to get a place in the quarterfinals. St Mirren Hearts, to end it all off. That's we're excited for what Derek McInnes might be putting together at Tynecastle this season. But that's a bit of a Snyder of a draw. That St Mirren at home is a really difficult game. So I'm looking to get early season momentum, and it's hard to imagine they can have picked a more difficult last 16 tie than St Mirren away from home. Yeah, so I really like the look of that last 16, and I'm very much looking forward to the games.
Mark in the comment section points out that Alloa beat Rangers before in the Cup when McCoy was in charge. I'm not for a second suggesting that Alloa are going to beat Rangers at Ibrox, but look, see, after last season with Queen's Park, I don't think Rangers can take anything for granted.
Was that not the one? Was that not the famous one for the kind of Rangers fans lost their stuff a little bit, and one of them started singing "Same Old Alloa, always cheating"?
That is a cracker. Same old Alloa, always cheating.
A high point on the journey or a low point on the journey there. I don't envisage that Rangers will have any issues with that one. I think that the draw has certainly been kind to them. Alloa Ibrox represents a great chance for Russell Martin to get himself into a quarter final right at the start of his Rangers career.
Absolutely. So that's the draw. We'll have the fixtures, as you can see on your ticket at the bottom. But I think it's probably best, Keith, for us to move on to other matters. It's actually been a busy weekend of football. Aside from the Premier Cup sports, Celtic and Rangers both in action yesterday.
Yeah.
Celtic, maybe start with them. Their Como visit is now over. A 1-1 draw with Al Ahly, and obviously winning in penalties out there. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, really. I mean, it was Shin Yamada looked good.
Yeah, and good reports. And I think I don't want to put any spoilers out there. It's not really a spoiler; it's more of a teaser. I think that after the match, Michael Gannon, who was there for Record Sport, caught up with Shin Yamada, and I think that there'll be some interesting stuff from him over the next 24 hours. He seems, to all intents and purposes, be very, very confident, full of self-belief. And I think Celtic, we're looking at Celtic fans, will be looking and remembering what happened when Ange Postecoglou was in that market, spending similar fees, and look what Celtic got, what kind of return they got. I'm not sure that Brendan Rodgers will be looking at a £1.5 million recruit from the Far East as the finished article and what he would be looking for from this transfer window. But, he's already looked at Inamura and been pleasantly surprised by the level of the guy that looks now he's going to put down a challenge for the understudy position to Kieran Tierney at left back. So who knows? Look, in terms of a difficult couple of games probably for Celtic, they're still at the point where it's about getting minutes and legs and getting people up to speed for the start of the campaign. And yet, at the same time, Daniel, and we've been speaking about it for a number of weeks, we keep coming back to the same issue with Celtic. And the longer this conversation goes, I can understand that people are starting to get a bit angsty about it, because here we are, 6 days, 7 days. Well, this time next week, Celtic will be playing, won't they? Against St Mirren. Or it'll be final. The final whistle will have gone, but the league starts a week today, and Celtic aren't where they need to be in terms of the squad, and it's as simple as that. And I think that'll be frustrating for Brendan Rodgers. They've had plenty of time. They've had a good run up towards the transfer window. They should be better equipped than they are right now. And of course, not only is St Mirren at Celtic Park this time next week, but it's less than a month now to the Champions League playoff qualifiers. And, even if Celtic make signings tomorrow or next week and it's ahead of the league starting, these guys need to bed into the team. They need to get up to speed. They need to understand what Brendan Rodgers is looking for from his Celtic side, because and we say it every year, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's true nonetheless. These Champions League qualifiers, more often than not, and particularly for Celtic, are the most important matches of the campaign.
Yeah.
Because it will make or break what the season looks and feels like for Celtic. Celtic need to be a Champions League club. That's what the ambitions are. That's what Brendan Rodgers is striving to do. He thoroughly enjoyed having them there last season in the group stages. Celtic put on a really good show, getting through, qualifying. This was exactly the project that Brendan Rodgers came back to Glasgow for, in order to take Celtic and make them competitive in the biggest European stage, which is the Champions League. I wouldn't want to be the board if I felt that he felt that he was undertooled going into the games, which will, have a real big sort of impact on defining Celtic season, and the satisfying Brendan Rodgers' demands and ambitions to take Celtic and make them a really competitive outfit in the Champions League. So that's interesting. The clock is really ticking now, and I think Celtic will need to start moving things really quickly. So this could be a big week ahead.
Well, we've had plenty of comments about this as well, Keith, in the comment section below about Celtic's stalled transfer window, for want of a better phrase. If you want to get involved in the conversation, please do so, and we'll try and read out as many comments as we can. Mark says, Ida's been there 18 months, Kenny 6 months, Shin for 45 minutes, and I'm more excited about him than the other two. AJSC Tech says, Tilly started the game for us. Just let that sink in. No, really, the club is run by spreadsheet managers. He then goes on to say, Law and Nicholson think thrifty is the new sexy. They even buy their wives' lingerie from Lidl and Woolworths. We can't confirm if that's true or false. And these ones here, Fraser says, once again...
A bit of a dark turn.
I did a wee bit. Fraser says, once again, Celtic are extracting the fluids from fans who stump up a pretty penny year on year, same old dilly-dally, low ball bids, total silence for a week, and tumbleweed blowing down London Road. Same old claptrap. I'm afraid our club is taking liberties with the fans. Why are we playing the likes of Yang and friendlies when he's supposed to be at the exit door? And just finally, Keith, Michael says, I think it's time to get rid of Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond. We need two centre-halves, a right winger, a decent striker, another good playmaker in midfield. Ida is never going to do it. Celtic just need to get on. Celtic need to spend on getting quality in. Stop the chat. Let's get some action on the transfers. So I think the message is Celtic fans are getting a bit impatient now.
It's got to build, isn't it? And the longer it goes, and rightly so. You can, I've said time and again, and I'm sure that I'll be proven correct this summer as well. Celtic will spend, and they will spend significant sums, but there has to be a bit of order and a bit of urgency to it. And the other thing is that's feeding into this sort of feeling of unrest among some of the Celtic supporters is that they probably won't like to admit it, but Rangers are getting their house in order. We had that conversation with Paul Murray last week about Andrew Kavanagh and what he's going to bring to the table at Rangers. This is a different challenge. And I know Celtic fans will roll their eyes and they're fed up here now. Rangers are coming again and all the rest of it. But this does feel like a different sort of challenge that's going to come from the other side of the city. And even if you look at the business that Rangers are doing and attempting to do in the transfer market, the Raksaki, the winger at Crystal Palace, the very mention of trying to get a player on loan with an obligation to buy, whether that fee is 10 million or 8 million, it's been disputed. But these are numbers that Rangers couldn't have been looking at previously. So if that's the level of player that they're trying to bring in, it does underline that Rangers, and I know that Celtic fans won't kind of necessarily agree, and they probably point a finger and laugh at Rangers, and 13 titles out of the last 14 tells you why. Celtic are in complete control of all the survey in their own backyard here, but there's something happening over at Rangers, and it would be silly for Celtic just to assume that the next door neighbours are going to be miles behind again, because Celtic have run themselves really cleverly in terms of always see around the curve, be better than them, be stronger than them, and they're by doing that, you'll stockpile trophies, you'll make a ton of money, and they've been brilliant at it. But they can't sleep at the wheel this summer. And I think that just even the mention of Rangers looking at players potentially costing £8 or £10 million, that will make Celtic supporters go, well, any chance we can get the finger out here? Because Celtic need work done, and there's no doubt about it. When you think about it, Jota's going to be in a treatment table probably for the rest of this year. Hasn't been adequately replaced. Nicholas Kuhn is gone, hasn't been adequately replaced. Kyogo went away in January, wasn't adequately replaced. So there's a real strong potential Celtic front three, and it's not there anymore.
Aye.
So that tells you that there is serious work to be done. And we're now getting to this point where we've floated the idea of, is it a kind of two-tier Celtic signing strategy this summer? Well, I hope it is for Celtic's sake and for Brendan Rodgers' sake. And I hope that we're about to see what the second kind of tier looks like. Because, I don't think it'd be wise for Celtic to sit in their hands now and think that they're so far ahead and Rangers have got so much work to do, which they do, by the way. And we've mentioned that as well. Russell Martin, standard start, he's got so much to do. Celtic can probably look at it and say, we're in good nick, we're in really good shape. And the chances are that with the squad already there, they're going to be more than strong enough to retain their title and push for a domestic treble. But I don't think that sort of attitude will be acceptable to Brendan Rodgers or the Celtic supporters. Quite clearly, they want to see some action. They want to see some new faces. And whether it's Brendan Rodgers, who does deserve to be backed, or the supporters who do deserve to be given something to get excited about. So for all those reasons, Daniel, I really do anticipate the next 2-3 weeks, certainly 2 weeks, you would think there's going to be some serious activity in terms of incoming. There has to be.
There's some Celtic fans that are scoffing at your Rangers predictions in the comments.
Oh, I knew they would.
Hugh says Rangers getting their house in order. Where have we heard that before? Keith JJ says my eyes are rolling. Rangers are permanently a level below. Look, I think Rangers have got a lot of work to do, as you say, but I think that's really naive if you just think Rangers are always going to be second best.
Well, you can't. It's no way to plan, is it? That you just make the assumption that Rangers are so far out the picture now that they're not even serious challengers, and that has been the case. So it's natural too. It's maybe understandable, because just look at the trophies that Celtic have amassed over this last period. A total and complete dominance. But if you can't see with your own eyes that this is a different version of Rangers that you're likely to get from Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers, and whether or not Russell Martin works out in the long term as coach, we don't know. But you can see the level has gone up a little bit in terms of what they're striving to put together. And Celtic have to respond to that. And it would be silly not to. And I can't believe, actually, there's Celtic fans out there that are probably the same ones that are climbing the wall saying, why are we not signing anybody, that now want to dismiss Rangers, that this isn't real, that there is no threat. Because that's how you stagnate. And if Celtic want to stagnate, then they should listen to opinions like that.
So are you still confident, Keith, that Celtic will spend significantly before the transfer window shuts?
Yeah, I'm 100%, because they always do. But I just feel that there should have been a greater degree of urgency this year. I think there might be a late rush. And if I'm Brendan Rodgers, and I think there should be an emphasis on satisfying the demands of Brendan Rodgers, because he's, elite level manager who is doing a terrific job as Celtic. You need to try and satisfy him. And you need to satisfy him by getting players in that he can work with and get ready well ahead of this Champions League playoff doubleheader, because he needs to get them into his team, assimilated, up to speed, all the sort of usual rhetoric and cliches. But it's already starting to look a little bit late in the day. So Celtic really need to get a move on and get a hurry up in terms of, if there are players out there that Brendan Rodgers has identified that makes his starting 11 stronger for these matches, then the sooner they're in the building, the better. And then everybody can calm down a little bit and get on with the season.
The Quinny says there, Celtic surely have got 20 to 30 million still to spend. The Slabbering Cabbage says we are so far short of where we need to be. It's utterly ridiculous. I mean, just final on this, Keith. Why does it always feel the same with Celtic? Why is it? It feels like the window drags on and on and on before they actually get something done.
Well, that's why.
Is that a strategy? Is it deliberate? I mean,
well, sometimes it is, because sometimes you're looking at players that there's a bit of competition that's going to take a bit of time. Sometimes it's players that are waiting to find out if they got a future elsewhere, or these things can take time. And Celtic have got a little bit of the business done, but not the main planks of the business. As we keep coming back to, they need at least 2 wingers. They probably need Brendan Rodgers probably wants a real sort of a marquee signing as a striker, and they probably need a centre half, a left-sided centre half. So that's quite a lot. And the reason that I kind of say to you, Daniel, that I fully expect, because they always do, and this is the thing, and you kind of see that there's a familiar pattern. It takes a bit of time. The Celtic fans get a little bit annoyed about it, impatient, whatever you like. But at the end of the window, when 9 times out of 10 by the end of the window, Celtic are a lot stronger than they were going into it. That wasn't the case in January, it must be said. So they can't make the same mistake 2 successive windows. And for all of those reasons, I fully expect Celtic to do some significant business. But I do think there's a clock on them now. They really need to get the finger out and deliver players into Lennoxtown and let Brendan Rodgers start to work with them, because we cannot overestimate the importance of qualification for the Champions League. It's Brendan Rodgers' whole raison d'etre. It's what he said on day one, back in the office for the second time. It was all about making Celtic competitive and credible in Europe. So he's got these qualifiers coming up, and he wants to be in the best possible shape for them, understandably and quite rightly.
Rangers Easy OK says, can I just ask why the Celtic board would give Rodgers more money when he signed 3 duds for a fortune last summer? Engels and Ida have been absolutely slaughtered. Do you think that is playing a part, Keith, in why there's been so little money spent so far?
Well, I mean, it's something we've discussed, Daniel, isn't it? I did say that his argument might be a little bit undermined, because if Celtic board say to him, we're going to put these 3 on the market tomorrow, we've decided to cash in, would Celtic recoup the money they spent? I'm not sure that they would.
No.
And from a purely business perspective, they might say, well, look, if we go back to the model that we previously used, which is 4 or 5 players all at similar prices, 3-4 million, and 3 of these guys come good, then the multiples are massive, and the profit is massive. There isn't much profit in the deals that were done last summer, and the Celtic board might be looking at that saying, well, that doesn't feel like a very good strategy. And that's why I think there has been this 2-tiered approach to what they're doing this summer. But it's only a 2-tiered approach if the second bit, the Brendan bit, actually happens. And you would expect, I certainly anticipate that will happen, and it will need to happen. I think certainly the next fortnight, there has to be, I think, some pretty significant arrivals.
I agree with you. There just has to be. I just can't see a scenario where there isn't. I mean, look,
the guys that run Celtic are too good at their job. They're also not daft. They understand the temperature in terms of the support and the expectations and the demands placed upon them. So they will get their deals done. I am convinced of that. There will be significant sums spent, because they simply have to. Otherwise, they're not doing their jobs. So you've got to keep the supporters on side. You've got to keep your manager on side. And the Celtic guys like Peter Law, the chairman, Michael Nixon, they're well aware of that. But it does feel to me as if they've got themselves into an unenviable position already this summer, because I think if you're Brendan Rodgers, you would have been looking for some of this work to have been completed by now, not going into the new season with a squad that isn't as strong as the one that he had last season. That's
finished with that.
That's a difficult one. That's a really difficult one to justify, given the amount of money that Celtic have got, and we see it from the accounts.
Aye. Across the city, John Joe says Rangers will be playing more like Ange Ball football this season, more attacking, and he says that after yesterday's 2-2 draw with Middlesbrough in a game that was supposed to be a pre-season friendly, Keith, but Russell Martin managed to get himself sent off.
Yeah, good old John Beaton. He's got his season off to a flyer.
John Beaton doing bits before the season's even started.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, you can't whack it, can you? Scottish football. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, by all accounts, I don't think it was a strong Rangers starting 11. I think it was made stronger later in the game with a whole bunch of substitutions, and Rangers come back. And the thing that you've got to kind of wonder about Rangers is what is this with losing 2 goals in almost every time that they go onto a pitch these days?
It's weird.
Happened against Bruges, happened again against Middlesbrough, and we know how many times it was happening last season. But I don't read too much into that, given what the starting 11 looked like. I think you would look more away towards the way that they ended the match, because that looked far more like a recognisable starting 11 of what you'll expect to see as a starting 11 in Athens on Wednesday night, Daniel. But again, there's a manager with a lot of work to do. There's no doubt about it. And just before we come on the show, another name has come up. Oliver Antman,
Yep.
a Finnish winger with Go Ahead Eagles, Dutch club. They estimate the going rate is around about £5 million for him. Now, it's unclear at this point, is this an alternative to Raksaki or another one that Rangers have got their eye on? Because they certainly need wingers as well. So, loads to do, and it's more complicated for Russell Martin because not only is he trying to rebuild a squad, but he's also trying to press the reset button on the style of play at Rangers and what he wants his team to look like on the pitch. And it is contemporary and it's different, and I don't think you can pull all that together in the space of 4 weeks at pre-season either. So I think there's likely to be some bumps in the road early in this season for Rangers, because terrific starting result against Panathinaikos in the first leg, 2-0. But we saw throughout that game there were moments in it when it could have gone in a very different direction.
Yeah.
Had Panathinaikos got themselves in front. Panathinaikos, we talked about Rangers going 2 goals behind. Panathinaikos could very easily have gone 2-0 up in that first half, maybe even more than that.
Easily.
So, and those look like, to me, like little glitches in trying to do a grand redesign on how you want the game to be played, inverted fullbacks, and this, the whole Russell Martin philosophy. He's trying to put it onto the pitch, and I think that'll take time. And clearly afterwards, he did say there were players that were going into positions on the field that he didn't want to see them in, and that they hadn't been doing when they'd been rolling this kind of formula out at training. So all these things, these are growing pains, and Rangers will experience a few of them, because the size of the change involved here, this whole scale of it, is enormous in terms of personnel and playing style. But I think also Rangers fans will be looking at it and being excited by it, because they are certainly going to get something very, very different from what they've been served up over the last wee while. And let's be honest, what they've been served up over the last wee while hasn't been anywhere near good enough, and the amount of trophies that Rangers can show for it is the ultimate proof of that.
Yeah. Mark there in the comments saying Rangers need a left back as soon as possible, and I would say, look, I know Rangers do need several more incomings, but Rangers is okay here pointing out that maybe it's time they shifted a few. I mean, there's a lot of players there at Rangers that we know, we've seen, they just aren't up to it.
Yeah, they're not going to cut it. If they couldn't cut it in, a side that wasn't a very good Rangers side, then they're not likely to cut it in one that Russell Martin clearly wants to make Rangers better. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why I think Rangers fans are still scratching their head about Kieran Dowell's prominence over the last few weeks. Is that for the long haul, or is that a short-term thing? We said on the show, I think I said, Daniel, was it last Thursday night? I said that I felt Robin Proper, something was likely to happen over the course of the next 24 hours. And that did happen, Robin Proper. And I think that's the start of getting bodies out. But that's not an easy process either. And I think Rangers have done quite well there, because if my understanding of it is that, obviously Robin Proper felt that financially he deserved some recompense for walking away from a bumper contract that somebody at Rangers was stupid enough to give him in the first place, and quite rightly so. That's well within his right. But I think Rangers seem to have kind of got out of that one by 20-inch cadet adding another year onto the contract that they were offering at their end. So, by kind of digging their heels in there, Rangers have done a clever bit of business. They've got rid of him. He wasn't going to make a contribution because he's nowhere near the required level, not even in domestic games. It was just a curious signing, a crazy signing from a club which has been, as I said, scattergunning the transfer market over the last few years. And this is why this summer feels different. Whether or not the Celtic fans want to admit it, there's a different approach now in play at Rangers. It's more precise, it's more targeted, and it makes sense. And that's why, that's why the early indicators are that Rangers should improve this season. And again, the only thing that you have to say to caveat that is it's going to be fascinating to see, does Russell Martin's style work? Because it didn't work for Southampton in the Premier League last year. But it worked perfectly for them in the Championship. So go figure. These are the imponderables, and these are the things that make the start of this season feel as exciting as it does, as exciting and fresh as it has in a long time, in terms of not only have you got a new look Rangers, different proposition, you've got Celtic in this situation where Brendan Rodgers going into the final year of his contract. He'll want to steam ahead. He'll want to put the foot to the floor in this campaign, and he's not yet in his second spell completed a treble. That'll be his target. Being no doubt that's his target at the start of every campaign. So is this his last year? If it is, will he want to go out with a clean sweep? You damn better be sure that that's in his thoughts right now. So how Celtic respond to that? Fascinating. And then you've got your Hibs that, I've been so impressed by them that I predicted to go to Mitchell and get a 1-1 draw. They did. And I think there's every chance of them getting through that tie now. But Europe aside, what are they going to offer in domestic terms this season? I think a lot. Hearts will be significantly better under Derek McInnes.
I was going to come to Hearts, Keith, and maybe mention their game yesterday. In a wee minute, but they'll be good.
You've got Aberdeen off the back of a Scottish Cup win. The momentum that they will take with them into the new season from what happened at Hampden. There's so many factors, so many different strands, and it feels fresh and it feels vibrant. And I'm really excited for the season ahead, Daniel.
Just to finish in Rangers, the left back position seems to be causing a bit of conversation in the comments. Bluebell says left back position needs sorting above all else. Aaron is a great right back, but he was very poor on the left last week. It's one game, but it's concerning. If Yefty is the answer, we need Aaron's at right back. Mark also says, Keith, I'm worried about the left back position in Greece. Would you start with Yefty? In our late night Hotline Live after Rangers win last week, Keith, we did talk about Aaron's, how it was a really kind of peculiar inverted fullback sort of role that he was playing.
For me.
Didn't really work.
It didn't work. And again, this is going to be the fascinating thing. Is this really the way that Russell Martin sees it being played? Is this what he wants? Was this the idea, the intention? Because if it is, then I would fundamentally disagree with it. But the other side of that coin is Russell Martin did say afterwards there were bits that he wasn't happy with. Maybe the sort of a disconnect between Max Aarons and Nicholas Raskin was part of that, because it didn't work for me. You've got a playmaker, a Belgian international playmaker, no less, in Nicholas Raskin, has the ability to get on the ball in central areas, link up, knit up moves and passes with teammates, and get into the final third and cause problems in there, whether it's assisting or scoring goals. And it seemed to be that he was neutered by the style of play that Rangers employed in that first half in particular, because Max Aarons was going into his position and getting on the ball and looking to dictate play, and he wasn't very good at it. Now, maybe he just had an off 90 minutes, but either way, even if he has a brilliant 90 minutes in Athens, is he going to be better than Nicholas Raskin? Is he going to offer you more in that central area than what Raskin can? I would doubt that. He's a fullback for a reason, and Raskin's a midfield player for a reason. So was that what Russell Martin was talking about in specific terms when he said there was some people were dropping into areas they shouldn't be dropping into? Was he talking about Raskin coming way so wide out? Clearly, there must have been instructions given to Max Allen that that's what he wanted him to do. I mean, because it was inverted fullback on steroids, wasn't it?
Aye, it was so obvious. Aye.
And he was getting so much of the ball, and when he got it, he didn't really seem to me like he knew what to do with it. I would much rather have Raskin in there in these positions on the ball, trying to pick passes and knit things together. So that'll be fascinating to see. Was it just an off night? Perhaps. Clearly, Russell Martin rates Max Aarons as his best option at left back right now, ahead of Jeff Day. Yilmaz didn't even make it into the squad for the European games, so he's toast. So yeah, yes. The answer to the question is I do agree. I think Rangers need further work there. A left back, I would imagine, has to be a priority. If you prefer a guy that's just come up on loan, who's a right back by trade, if you prefer playing him to anybody else that you've got at left back, who are meant to specialise in the position, it suggests that that's how Russell Martin feels too.
Yeah. Just before we move on from Rangers, I think we can actually see a picture of the incident that Russell Martin went off his head about. And to me, Keith, his hand is in a natural position here. That's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's always difficult to tell with still pictures and that.
Any excuse to put that picture up, to be honest.
Have a pop at John P. Welcome back, guys.
Right, Stavros says Hearts and Hibs are going to challenge. Maybe Aberdeen, it's going to be the best season in years. And Bluebell says Hearts don't have Europe to think about. They'll be a decent proposition this season. Keith, Hearts only went and beat a Premier League outfit yesterday at Tynecastle. Craig Gordon's testimonial. Claudio Braga, I think he's going to be a star for Hearts.
I've not seen him yet, and I can't wait to. I just can't wait to see Hearts in general, Daniel. I think they're going to be. I've mentioned that Rangers will be a different proposition next season. You know what I think of Hearts? You know what I think's coming here? I think there's something potentially really, really big happening at Tynecastle this summer. And I can't wait to see what it looks like and what it manifests like onto the pitch. And if we're right, and if Hearts really get out the blocks early this season without the distraction of European football, if they build that momentum, you know that they're going to bring the fans with them. The excitement levels will be through the roof. And I think Derek McInnes will very quickly do what he said he wanted to do from day one in the job when he first was unveiled. He said, I'm sick and tired of hearing people saying that they love coming to Tynecastle because it's great atmosphere, it's a great place to play. He wants people...
Like Disneyland or something?
Aye. He wants people to hate the idea of having to go to Tynecastle. And I think that you will find that vision that he's got is very quickly, it becomes a reality at the start of this season. I think Hearts is going to be where it's at for the first few weeks of this season. I can really see it, getting off to a real flying start. And as they do that, they'll bring the fans with them, and the excitement levels around the whole thing will really start to build. As I said to you, I think something similar going on at Hearts and at Aberdeen as well. But they, reasonable seasons, but patchy, obviously, but good seasons nonetheless. Hearts are coming off the back of a stinker. So you just add them into a real potential bun fight at the top of the table in the top six. I'm really excited by it.
Yeah, and look, see, like you said that you've not seen Braga play yet. I've only seen highlights, right? So I'm getting a wee bit excited ahead of my time here. But I do think Braga looks like an old school clinical finisher. I mean, I honestly think he's going to be a massive star in the whole league next season, not just for Hearts. But
well, we know what your predictions are like, Daniel. So calm down, man.
Just cursed Braga there. Like, one goal all season. But you mentioned,
but it's good, isn't it? Lon Shanklin stayed, and it's just everything feels good around Hearts just now, and I really do think that will translate onto the pitch when the ball starts rolling.
Look, I get this is an impossible question to answer, but everyone in the comment section kind of bickering about where, I mean, Hearts will tussle with Rangers for second, whilst Rodgers wins the league. Look, what is realistic for Hearts this season? Is it realistic to think they could get in between Celtic and Rangers?
Is it realistic? You know how I'll answer that? I'll answer it by saying that I know Derek McInnes quite well, and I have done for a few years. Do I think that Derek McInnes has taken on this job believing that he can do precisely that and get involved in an argument with Celtic and Rangers at that end of the league? 100%. That's the whole reason he took the job. It's the whole reason he was so excited about the prospect. It's the whole reason he's always saw himself being the Hearts manager one day.
Yeah.
Because he managed to take Aberdeen into a position where they were the next best thing. They were, you know, crossing swords with Celtic predominantly. Obviously, Rangers had a period where they weren't in that division, and it became Celtic versus Aberdeen, really. Brendan Rodgers versus Derek McInnes. Brendan Rodgers is full of admiration and respect for Derek McInnes. You just need to listen to how he talks about him as a manager to know that he will believe that Derek McInnes is capable of putting something together at Tynecastle. So yeah, and added into all that, you've got the fact that Russell Martin is new into the gig with so much to do. And I've said that there will be teething troubles. I think I've used the phrase countless times now. It might have to get worse before it gets any better for Rangers. If Rangers get off to a difficult start to the season and Russell Martin's still tinkering with stuff and it's not quite coming together the way they want it, and you saw when Ange Postecoglou came to Celtic, such a radical transformation can take a few weeks. Now, if Rangers stutter under Russell Martin at the start while he's still putting his squad together and putting the style, his imprint on that team, it gives somebody like a Hearts, like Aberdeen, like a Hibs, a chance to get off to a flyer and to get in between them right from the start. And then the job is, can you stay there? Now, Aberdeen did terrifically well at the start of last season. That was astonishing, the way that they opened up. First 11 games, but then dropped off a cliff. So it's one thing getting in between them. Once you've done that, then the target becomes, how do you stay there?
Yeah.
And, you know, how do you sustain it over the course of a campaign? But I think Hearts will have a good chance.
Bruce, who's a Hearts fan in the comments, says, I would bite your hand off for third place finish. Too many people getting carried away. We've seen how that has gone before for us. Probably a fair point that, you know, it's very early days.
100%. And by the way, Derek McInnes, if you say to him now, you know, yes, do I think that he wants to get himself, does he see himself as the ultimate disruptor in Scottish football? Yes, he does. And with good reason. And he's going to get the backing here at Hearts. And that will allow him to put forward a real challenge. But 100%, if you were to say third place for your first season at Tynecastle, or third place finish, 100%, that's, well, it's far better than last season, isn't it?
Oh,
so that probably will be the first target. And Derek McInnes probably wouldn't put himself in the position of coming out publicly and saying, yeah, I want to split Celtic. Of course he wouldn't. But I'm telling you, in his mind's eye, he'll think there's the possibility of doing something like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't expect Hearts to take many backward steps this season, put it that way.
I think they're going to make it very uncomfortable for a lot of teams this season. And I can't wait for it, Keith. I can't wait. But for today, I think that brings to the end of Record Sports Hotline Live. Thank you so much for all the comments. We appreciate it as ever. If you want to get involved in the conversation, we'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Keith, it's always a pleasure.
And yourself, Daniel, have a lovely Sunday evening.
You too. And thanks for watching at home. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.